Julia Roberts has long been more than a Hollywood star. She became a feeling audiences could recognize instantly. From the moment she appeared in Pretty Woman, her presence reshaped what charm and sincerity looked like on screen. That radiant smile, often described as effortless, carried an emotional openness that drew people in without resistance. But what the world embraced as natural warmth was also something carefully held together beneath pressure. With success came expectation, to remain the same, to always embody kindness, romance, and emotional clarity. Films like My Best Friend's Wedding and Notting Hill didn't just entertain. They fixed her image into cultural memory. She became America's Sweetheart, a title that felt affectionate but quietly demanding. It left little room for change or complexity. Behind that enduring image was a woman learning how to carry admiration without losing herself, a balance far more difficult than it ever appeared. A childhood marked by change. Before fame, Julia's life was shaped by instability and emotional complexity. Born in Georgia to creative parents, she grew up in a household that valued art but struggled with financial and personal strain. Her parents' decision to run an inclusive acting school during a divided era reflected courage, yet their marriage couldn't withstand the pressures around it. When they separated, Julia was still very young, and that early disruption left a lasting impression. She learned quickly that stability could disappear without warning. After her mother remarried, the home environment became unpredictable, filled with tension rather than comfort. Moving frequently, adjusting constantly, she developed an instinct to read rooms carefully. Even speaking wasn't easy at first. She struggled with a stutter that made expression feel risky. Acting slowly became her refuge, not as a dream of fame, but as a way to communicate freely. Long before audiences saw her confidence, she had already learned how to navigate uncertainty. Loss that shaped her inner world. One of the most defining moments of Julia's early life came with the loss of her father. When she was just 10 years old, he passed away from illness, leaving behind not only grief, but a deep emotional absence. He had been a steady, gentle presence in her life, and his loss changed the emotional atmosphere of her world overnight. What remained were recordings he had made, simple bedtime stories captured on tape so she could still hear his voice. Those recordings became a source of comfort, something she returned to again and again. They represented both love and loss in equal measure. This experience didn't just bring sadness, it deepened her emotional awareness. It taught her how fragile connection can be and how powerful memory is. That sensitivity would later become one of her greatest strengths as an actress, allowing her to bring authenticity to roles that required vulnerability and emotional truth. Finding strength through expression. As Julia grew older, acting became more than an escape. It became a way to rebuild confidence. School life wasn't always kind. Features that would later be celebrated, like her wide smile, sometimes made her stand out in ways that invited teasing. But instead of retreating completely, she found small ways to express herself. Theater offered a space where she could step into different roles and feel in control. It wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about discovering parts of herself she couldn't access in everyday life. That process quietly built resilience. She learned to stand in front of others, to speak clearly, to hold attention without fear. These weren't overnight transformations, but gradual shifts. By the time she began considering acting professionally, she had already developed something essential: the ability to channel emotion into performance. That foundation would later distinguish her, making her performances feel lived rather than simply acted. Navigating fame and expectation. Following her breakthrough, Julia's career continued to soar with films like Runaway Bride and Steel Magnolias. Each success reinforced her place in Hollywood, but it also deepened public expectations. She was expected to remain relatable yet extraordinary, glamorous yet grounded. This balance wasn't easy to maintain. Fame brought opportunities, but it also limited privacy. Relationships became public narratives, and personal decisions were often judged from a distance. Julia found herself navigating a world where admiration could quickly turn into scrutiny. Despite this, she continued to choose roles that challenged her emotionally. She avoided becoming predictable, even when it would have been easier. This willingness to take risks helped her maintain credibility as an actress, even as her public image remained firmly established. It was a delicate balance, honoring what audiences loved while continuing to grow beyond it. Recognition and reinvention. By the time she starred in Erin Brockovich, Julia had reached a new level of artistic recognition. The role allowed her to step outside the romantic image that had defined much of her earlier work. It was bold, grounded, and emotionally complex. Her performance earned her an Academy Award, solidifying her status as one of Hollywood's most respected actresses. This moment wasn't just about recognition, it was about reinvention. She proved that she could evolve, taking on roles that reflected depth and maturity. It marked a shift in how she was perceived, both by audiences and within the industry. She was no longer just a beloved star. She was a serious artist, capable of carrying powerful stories. That transition allowed her to approach her career with greater freedom, choosing projects that aligned with her values rather than expectations. Love under public scrutiny. Julia's personal life often unfolded under intense public attention. Relationships that might have been private became widely discussed, adding pressure to already complex situations. High-profile romances, including her connection with Kiefer Sutherland, brought both excitement and scrutiny. When that relationship ended just days before a planned wedding, it became a major public moment. Yet, behind the headlines was a deeply personal decision, one rooted in self-awareness and the need to protect her well-being. These experiences shaped how she approached relationships moving forward. She became more cautious, more intentional about what she shared with the world. While the public often focused on the drama, what mattered most was her ability to learn from these moments. They helped her understand what she truly needed: stability, privacy, and a sense of grounding that fame alone could never provide. Living with both joy and loss. Even in a life filled with success, Julia has faced personal loss and emotional challenges. These experiences didn't diminish her. They deepened her perspective. She learned that happiness and grief can exist at the same time, each shaping how we experience the other. Instead of turning these moments into public narratives, she chose to process them privately. This approach reflects her broader philosophy. Not everything needs to be shared to be meaningful. Her ability to carry both joy and sorrow without losing balance speaks to her resilience. It's a quiet strength, one that doesn't seek attention, but remains deeply present. This emotional depth continues to influence her work, allowing her to connect with audiences in ways that feel genuine. It's part of what makes her enduring, not just as an actress, but as a person. A life lived on her own terms. Today, Julia Roberts represents something more than fame. She embodies the idea that success can be reshaped over time. She no longer seeks constant visibility or validation. Instead, she focuses on what matters most: family, meaningful work, and personal peace. Her journey shows that it's possible to evolve without losing authenticity. She didn't abandon the qualities that made her beloved. She refined them. By setting boundaries and making intentional choices, she created a life that feels balanced and real. Her story is not just about Hollywood success, it's about learning how to protect what matters in a world that constantly demands more. In the end, what makes Julia Roberts truly remarkable isn't just her career. It's her ability to remain herself through every phase of it.